Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. You see what building I'm next to, so you know what I'm going to talk about today, because yes, for once again a week that I thought was going to be, you know, a very slow one, a lot has happened. And in no particular order, I guess I will, well, I'll probably, I say particular order, I'll just give the updates in the shortest to longest, like I tend to try and do a lot of the time. So yeah, first thing is, I was just checking on, you know, to see like what number Walking Wednesday this is. I believe it's 349, and then you know, I just have just because I was going through and I was like, oh wait a minute, okay, there's been a bit of a spike with the latest AFMAP parody that came out this week as well. And yeah, for a while that one was actually, the last time I checked that one, it was still like, well, it had like 7 views at one point, because I didn't publicize it at all. And then afterwards refreshed it for a bit, you know, a couple hours later, it was like 39 or something. It's like, oh wow. I mean, in terms of AFMAP videos, they tend to be in the upper 10s to the hundreds by the first couple of days. It's like, oh well, I mean, fair enough. It's not one that, you know, this is one that I kind of rushed out anyway, because I didn't really have much else that I was able to do in the time frame because of how busy January's been. But yeah, as it turns out, it suddenly went from like 30 something views to 1.5 thousand. So apparently people have watched that one more now than the Zack song from last year. So it quickly has become, you know, in the top rankings of, well, I see not top, in the middle rankings, I think, of the most popular AFMAP videos that I've done. AFMAP songs, at least. Which, you know, considering that I did say that was going to be my last AFMAP parody for some time, in a sense, it's nice to bookend that, in a way. It's something that the public seem to have enjoyed as much as they have. On the other hand, what the heck? It feels like now I've got to do more. No, I'm not going to. I'm gonna stick to my guns because I've got other ideas that I've been putting off for the sake of doing the, you know, 1 year long AFMAP challenge anyway. And I feel like 14 months from December 2024 to January 2026 is enough in terms of, you know, churning those out. There's only so many times you can get a surprising success like that one. So yeah, next parody, or this month's parody, we're still going to try and do like once a month songs, but they won't all be AFMAP themed, because the world is not dry necessarily, because there's tons of AFMAP characters, but you know, as far as screen time goes and thematic significance, they can't all be like that. Alternate AFMAP worked because, you know, it was a very short song by comparison. But yeah, so that was surprising. So of course that was a thing that happened this week that was, you know, another surprise, basically. But yeah, the things that were actually planned this week, or I suppose, you know, planned or half a surprise, are as follows. There's another announcement that I got to make before talking about the quiz this week, and that is referring back to something I may have mentioned in the super long pantomime video, but because again that is an hour long, I don't expect people to go back and watch the whole thing. So what I might have mentioned, if I remembered to, was that during the final week of rehearsals, we were just talking about, oh, well, you know, what's the next show going to be? The word used was summer show, but as it turns out, the summer show is performed in October. I don't know why they call it that. So, you know, basically we were just saying like, oh, okay, we have like, so like 2 ideas or something at that point. or someone said there were 2 official submissions, others were like verbal agreements or something, so there was no consistency. And, you know, I was on such a high roll that, you know, I was thinking, hey, let's repeat the, let's repeat the not potential mistake, I was going to say potential mistake I made, but let's repeat the event that occurred at university, where I just went, well, I have a musical we can perform. You know, casual musical in one's back pocket. So, yeah, after it became the reason for my theatre burnout, or at least the beginning of it, Siren Story re-entered the conversation right as my return was in progress, let's say. Or about to be in progress. It might have been the day before or something. Might have been the dress rehearsal. Oh no, it wasn't the dress rehearsal, it was during the show. Yeah, so that happened. And, you know, once somebody said, oh, you know, well, if you want to do that, submit it to the committee, you know. They said by the 31st, so they can, because that's when they're collecting things by. It's like, oh, all right then. So there's a very easy process to this. So I rejigged the proposal document that I made for Siren Story when we were pitching them at university, and it's the one that I had behind me because I over-prepared for this by a considerable margin. If you don't remember that Walking Wednesday, I filmed it right after I did the pitch, not realizing that the votes were going to be in progress right after we came back. I thought that was the end. So then I checked after I filmed, was like, oh, there are a bunch of the people have been trying to call me. Oh no, I got to make it back. So yeah, I was talking about like how hopeful I was that it would get picked up, and you know, I'd also performed one of the opening song, and got everyone very excited about the whole thing, and yeah, that's resulted in you know, it did, well, you're all aware of this, it did in fact get accepted, and it went through, despite the fact that people were already booked into other shows, so most of them couldn't take part. I had to cut down a bunch of the characters, deal with work restrictions and COVID restrictions around rehearsals and all that stuff. So really it wasn't the production's fault necessarily. You know, you hear about like cursed productions or something, and that's not really what I think went on. And as much as, you know, obviously that lifelong dream that I had of, you know, writing a musical and seeing it performed did in fact happen, I'd say I have achieved lifelong successions 3 times in my life, that being one of them. Despite that happening, you know, it was still, when I mentioned to my mum that I had this conversation, you know, she said, you know, as much as we enjoyed seeing that, the ending, the ending was very confusing. To which you're like, yeah, I mean, that does make sense, because the ending had to be significantly trimmed. We didn't have much of a chance to rehearse it, because by that point the musical wasn't even complete originally when I pitched it, but to university. It's complete now, and the reason for that is because, you know, those 10 days of a gap between what I was going to use to get that process going were used instead for the finale of Mutant Girl, which kept on glitching and such. The finale of Mutant Girl season 2, by the way. So yeah, that episode and that particular scene, especially. So yeah, that's so it was really like all that stuff, and also the fact that you know, I'm not a very good director of live action people. Voice direction I can definitely do, but yeah, live action's a different story. So yeah, because of all that, so I was like, well, this time I outlined in the project proposal in the document I sent, you know, this was the cause of my theatre burnout in 2022. So I would like someone else to direct this, please. You can consult me on anything you want, anything at all, but just please don't make me direct this thing. So yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, if someone else is able to step in or willing to do so, because I think I mentioned this before, the original director that we had for the show dropped out, so decided to do acting instead. So yeah, the only other person who would have been willing to direct a musical. So that's why it ended up being me, because otherwise it was never going to see the light of day. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. So, and I mean, I also even said to the Panto director at one point, because I think we were talking about this. I might have said it on the radio actually, that we had opposite theatrical experiences. He started off with acting. He mentioned he was, you know, the rear end of a horse in a different panto from years prior. And he realized as he progressed through that he preferred to be behind the scenes, you know, as the writer-director that he has now become. And I did somewhat of the opposite. I attempted directing, didn't like it, thought, hey, I'll switch over in this module to just the writing side of things, you know, so I can pitch the musical, and then you know, someone else can do the directing part. And it's like, oh no, I've been pulled back in again. So so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, on this particular scale, where like this theatre company, the benefit is that not only have I had the chance now to fix the ending, I've been going through in moments where, you know, I'm not called to do other stuff, like, you know, arrange the house because we have guests over for the quiz, or even apply for a impromptu link to a different language systems program that my dad found. When I'm not doing those things, that's what I'm usually working on, or at least that's what I was doing this week. That, or finally getting the line submitted from the backup for Pete, so I can actually complete the rest of the audio for everyone for Muse and Girls. So, you know, like I said, it seems like nothing's been going on, and it's been somewhat of a relief that regarding the school placements and such that I have, most of them finished in January because they were trial positions to get me to, you know, get me in the game and practicing. And the one that was deemed the closest to me, or deemed close to me, even though it's roughly the same area as the rest of them, is my permanent group. So that's tomorrow. So they're the only ones that I still have fixed. My understanding is they're going to give me more that are more local. Although now I'm worried about what they consider to be more local, but that's another subject for another day. I'll bring that up with them when it applies. But yeah, that's why I'm back here. So it's been nice to be able to work on that, because this is the part that I didn't mention yet. On the 30th, I submitted it, what I said, and I think on like the first or the second, probably the first actually, I said, you know, the Panto director on WhatsApp just messaged me going, thank you for the detailed proposal. We've got a meeting on the 5th to discuss all of the potential options, and we will communicate to you after then. So no news as of yet. No one get excited or too excited just yet. But, you know, they're going to have the conversation. I think the 5th is tomorrow, right? So, yeah. So it will be soon. I've been working on it, you know, just in case anyway. And Ed and I returned to the original script anyway, the one for, you know, the original Gacha musical from 2020, the one before the university one. So, you know, that's just something that's we tinkered around with in the background as well. So I think that's everything out of the way. So let's talk about the quiz. So, the quiz this time. Obviously, the big question is, you know, did we defend our title? You know, because we achieved our hat trick, I suppose. Not really hat trick, it's not in a row, it was non-consecutive victories. But we achieved our third victory by half a point, snatched it from the jaws of the usual winning team. And once again, as we arrived here, once again down a member, they announced that that team was not there, and then everyone except us cheered. You know, we have a bit more restraint, but yeah, they cheered, then they laughed at themselves for being, you know, a little bit mean, as the case may be. But yeah, it's always interesting because before we showed up, you know, we of course, you know, were discussing things like, you know, we're thinking like, what can they bring up this time? You know, we looked up things to do with like Winter Olympics, the Super Bowl as well. That's not really a thing here, but in general, they are a cricket club, so you know they're always there's always a sports round, as I've mentioned previously. And also, of course, Valentine's Day, because there won't be another one until after Valentine's Day. So, you know, we even looked up if there's going to be like themed dingbats this time. So, my mum found a website of different dingbats, and you know, we just went through them, and you know, we're just saying like, oh, that one's this one, that one's this one, that one's this one. You know, covering our bases. Of course, there are a few of them that are, you know, somewhat of a stretch to fit the theme, like one where they just named Julius Caesar next to a tick mark. And of course, you know, it's about what is Julius Caesar? He's, you know, a ruler, you know, it's an emperor. What kind of emperor? Roman tick, romantic, yeah. Some of them are like that, they always are. Unfortunately, that part of the research proved to be in vain because the dingbats were not Valentine's Day themed at all. And of course, there was that one that we were struggling on for the entire quiz, because there normally is, which just had like a list of different things like fire, ice, several other sand. I think, what was it? Did they say like Guinness or something? I don't remember, but and some form of alcohol beverage. Then it was like water, and then galvanized or something. That tends to be bucket list, because you can put all those things in buckets, which I think is probably very unfair, because a bucket by its very nature is something that you know, would be able to contain anything solid or liquid, provided it doesn't melt the thing it's made of, or it's too heavy. So, you know, fire as well. I guess you put fire out with a bucket, but that's, again, of all those things to mention, why those ones? Because they're common uses. I don't know. And galvanize is just how you make buckets. You galvanize the metal to create them. So yeah, we did not get that one, and so did most people. I don't think there are any perfect dingbat scores this time, even though there was last week. Oh well. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so before we showed up, because I was talking about like other stuff we were doing, we did that preparation, and then just in general we were, you know, saying like, okay, you know, do we feel prepared? Okay, we feel like this? Okay, right, let's go. You know, some of us are being like, ah, yes, let's go, let's defend our title, 2 in a row, let's do it. Because so far the only team to have achieved 2 in a row that, you know, from my memory of being there, have been the usual winners. So, you know, that would have been a major thing, even if they had been there. But actually, one of my aunts said that, you know, she hoped that we didn't win, because then people will start, you know, groaning as soon as, you know, our victory was announced. It's like, oh, it's them again. Which, can I just say, even being in that position where that could hypothetically happen is already an achievement. Can I just, like, because that's what they do with like the usual winners. When they win, even the announcers are like, "Ah, yes, of course, you know, and the winners are the such and such." It's like, really? So yeah, to have ascended to their position, especially without doing what they did, which was, you know, I said before, they used to be apparently 3 members, and then they restructured their entire team, and then they actually, you know, and they got their the brainiest people involved there, and really you know, took over things, as I've mentioned before. So, you know, without doing any of that, just us, as per usual, with the exception of my cousin, who has unfortunately missed all of the victories we've had. And he keeps saying like, "Oh yes, you know, I'm not going to be able to be here this week. That means you're going to win again." For the record, he is still, I believe, in at this point for next month, but his mother, my other aunt, is not. So we'll still be down a member. It just won't be the same one as before, as if things stay as they are right now. So I don't know, but we've but what I was saying is that, yeah, that idea, I love that's even like part of the conversation. And it's not like we're the only ones that have, you know, had a couple of, like, you know, one-off victories, I suppose. Well, we've had 3. Other teams recently have also achieved victory. I think the one that there's another one that actually defeated the usual winners when they were around at one point. In fact, 2 teams defeated them because they came 3rd in that particular quiz. So, you know, things do happen sometimes. Not to mention also there were new teams. There were 2 new teams this week. So we got moved to a different table than normal. In fact, actually, you know what? In contrast to, I guess they forgot we were there, sort of, because in contrast to the reputation of the usual winners, as soon as because the new teams were there, they mentioned that they were the team that always wins. The host said that they were the team that always wins. At which point, my aunt immediately went, "No, excuse me, it was me. Wait a minute." And then they turned around to see us behind them. It's like, "Oh yes, that's right. You've won a couple of times." Like, "Hey, we won last time. Come on." I think it's also worth noting they don't keep statistics on this because, you know, this is all, as much as we take it super seriously, it's all supposed to be, you know, friendly neighborhood competition. Even though my aunts and cousin are not from the neighborhood, but, you know, friendly neighborhood and or family competition, let's say. So, you know, it's one of those things. Yeah, so you know, there's no official like leaderboards or anything. You know, you can't like look back over the data of the last few years. Although I would really love to see that for the usual winners, because again, competition aside, they do fascinate me as individuals because, you know, I said before and I'll say it again, their story is something you could probably make a movie out of. Okay, it'd be a relatively low budget movie, but it would still be a movie, I think. Not quite the pub quiz movie screenplay that I've yet to write, but something there. And if anything, you consider, like, you know, the rise of the other teams, including us particularly, as like the second act of that. That being said, I'm wondering about some of the other teams, because one of the other teams I think came 4th this time, and being around like the top 5 on a regular basis was how we started. So if history to repeat itself, they could be ones to look out for in the future. So you never know. They've got a really great name as well, which of course again I'm not saying because I don't say the names of the teams and everything. Although if they're no statistics, I probably could just say the names of them. I don't know. You know what? Let me know in the comments if you want me to say the names of the teams in the future, because they are some interesting puns and decisions that have been made by them. Nothing on the level of 50 Shades of Fun and 6 Shades of Grey in one competition, which was in the secondary school that I used to go to. That's the one that was hosted in our team, whose name I think I have mentioned, the Little Grey Cells. You know, we've you know, that's where like that name first started. But yeah, aside from that, well, speaking of, even that's an evolution. Or at least it has been for me, because, you know, I used to be terrible at dingbats. I didn't get like the concept of them. A lot of the phrases that were used, the ones that I had never heard of, which is still true to this day. But yeah, a lot of the other ones are still commonly used and still easily identified and or deduced. So the fact that I'm on the Dingbats team now, well, I mean, I'd be terrible at the sports one anyway, but, you know, that's, you know, something that I can personally take pride in having progressed, at the very least. And the music round this time. The music round in this quiz, I provided the most answers that I have ever done, which is 3 out of 10 questions. I knew 3 whole songs and their corresponding, well, not their corresponding artists actually, but well, the problem was, you know, this is where the Valentine's theme came from. Oh, that was just a car door. Someone was kicking down a gate or something. That was loud. Anyway, so this was their Valentine's theme, basically. You know, any songs with love in the title, which we did predict, but we were unable to research because there are just so many. So, or not even love in the title, but themed around love. Because one of the ones that I identified was My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which I don't think has, you know, it's not mentioned love by name, but is very clearly, you know, the underlying message behind it. And something that, you know, every night in her dreams she is seeing, she is feeling. But yeah, that's that was one of them. That was the second one, actually. Another one was Perfect by Ed Sheeran, because that one particularly on the local radio station was played incessantly for some time. In fact, I used to actually have beef with this particular song, just on the grounds that I saw a lot of people, you know, using it as a dedication song to a significant other, which of course it was written to be like, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, the thing that I resented about that was the fact that those were impersonal, you know. This was still, you know, around the time where I was like, I mean, come on, anyone can write a song. That's my era of that, because it took me a while to realize like how, let's call it distinct, that particular skill set is. Because, you know, for some time, because it came so easily to me so quickly that I thought, well, okay, I mean, you know, people can think of like words that rhyme with stuff, and, you know, they can probably also identify a rhythm of a song, especially one that already exists. So writing parodies, you know, is it's a piece of cake, right? Surely. So I didn't understand the in-school popularity of my first parody before I had a YouTube channel, and then, but then afterwards, of course, I used that for other school purposes, including, you know, revision and things. And then after finishing that, pivoted to FMAL, and I'm pivoting again to try to diversify that. But yeah, like that was. It took a while to recognize that, oh yeah, this is something that, you know, not a lot of people do, or maybe feel like they can do, or I don't know actually. At one point, one of my friends in sixth form mentioned that, you know, he said like to someone like, you know how most parodies like you don't have like I don't fit like the proper meter and rhythm, they include a lot of the original lyrics and things, and you know, well, none of that for the one that, you know, he's written, referring to me. That one, by the way, is Doctor's Paradise, which is still a lyric video that you can find. The original music video I took down because the person I was collaborating with did not want to have a face on the channel or on the internet. So, yeah, but the lyric video is still there. But aside from that, yeah, like that's what I kind of told him, was like, oh yeah, but you know, this hadn't happened yet by this stage, so I forgot what original point I was trying to make. I just kind of went on a bit of a tangent there. Oh yes, Ed Sheeran. So the part that I was annoyed about was, you know, the fact that it felt so impersonal, and since I was still convinced, you know, that, you know, everyone had the latent ability to you know, just spontaneously create a song of some description, at least a parody one, I thought to myself, well, I mean, why don't they just do that? Like, if you want to dedicate a song to someone, dedicate it to the person, you know, make custom lyrics to reference things that are done, that were things like for them, you know, including their inside jokes if it's not for, you know, for YouTube or something, or maybe there'll be like random things or something, I don't know, but anything. I think at one point someone said, oh, I wish someone would sing this song to me. It's like, well, come on. Wish that someone would sing you like a song that they made, that they crafted for you. I don't know. So that's why I used to resent that song, but that's also why I knew exactly which song it was. The one that I didn't know, and that I absolutely should have done, because I've made a parody of a song by this very artist, is one that, what was I going to say? Is one that, it was the 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. And, you know, I like put down the first name that came to mind, which I don't know why was Jessie J. I don't know. Save your comments. I'm already resent myself enough for this. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, that sounds like, no, that's not right. There's someone else. And I even thought the name Christina, but I thought Christina Grimmie instead of Christina Perri. I was like, no, it's not Christina Grimmie. Therefore, it can't be anyone named Christina. So, yeah, that was on me. Speaking of things that, you know, goes to songs that I've written, actually, I wrote a parody about D-Day a long time ago, actually. One of the reverse Minecraft parodies, actually, because it was originally a song made for Minecraft, but, you know, Cubeland by Laura Shigihara, and then I made it Warland. You know, and I was thinking to myself, like, I was singing that while I was like thinking about this question. It was a different round. You know, what does the D in D-Day stand for? The answer was day, apparently, day. But it was mostly also could stand for the first day, because they counted down from, like, you know, D-Day -1, D-Day -2, or something like that. According to one of the contestants who works at the D-Day Museum. So that answer was, of course, also accepted. Oh, wait a minute, another answer that was accepted. This one was quite interesting. Another one that I almost kicked myself for until I was immediately vindicated. So, everyone's seen a stop sign, right? You know, we are, you know, if you are, if you're from, you know, an HEDC, as they say in geography, you have most likely come across such an object at some point in your life. So, you know, what shape are they? Was the question. What shape is a stop sign? And, you know, let's go add to the long list of shape-themed questions that I apparently just excel in. Get another latent skill that I didn't realize about. Because a lot of people said hexagon, right? So even my mum wrote hexagon down, was like, and passed it over to me. Like, is that it? Nope. And then I think some other people also said, you know, hexagon and such, but and usually whenever one thing that happens a lot is that, you know, one of my aunts is the one writing all the answers down, except for when I have an answer, because normally they're things that, you know, she hadn't, like, thought of rather than, like, you know, options or something to be confirmed by another person. So sometimes she'll shut down answers anyway, and then there will be grilled if it being the wrong answer, let's say, by everyone. And this almost happened to me saying the correct answer of octagon, because a stop sign is an octagon shape. Then what happened was, you know, for a while it's like, are you sure it's not a hexagon? You know, well, they think about this, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's hexagon, right? Yes, I don't know why I count to 6, because they don't have 6 sides, they have 8. So we stuck with that. Eventually, the answer, when the host called it out, the answer they gave was hexagon. And I, like a deer in headlights, you know, just 1,000 yards step forward, was like, oh no, what have I done? I'm sorry, everyone. Maybe I was thinking of, like, I don't know, a US stop sign or a Spanish stop sign. Are they different? Are they octagons versus the UK that were hexagons all along? Is it like everything else, you know, on our roads here backwards compared to the majority of the rest of the world? But then somebody came in, like, with their phone and answered the question, no, it's octagon. So they then corrected it, said octagon. It's like, oh, thank you, vindication. Immediate vindication. So that was a relief. That's I felt better after the Christina Perri question at that point. Oh wait, no, that was announced before. I felt better about it when it came, because I already, you know, whatever. Because yeah, long history of me answering shape-related questions and being the one to trust, apparently. You know, I mean, the heptagon question they had in a previous quiz, I think everyone sort of agreed with that one anyway. But then, of course, there was the famous example from, again, going back to my secondary school, not one of the quizzes we arranged for as a fundraiser, that were the ones that 50 Shades of Fun and 6 Shades of Grey entered. Those ones, this one was mirroring University Challenge. And the idea behind this one was, we you know, by like our school houses, we had a member of like each year group, you know, from 7 to 11, because that was the system, and you know, we all compete against each other hosted on different days, and then the two finalists, because there were 3 different houses, the 2 finalists would then compete against each other again, based on like how the winning points worked. And during our first ever competition, one that I think we almost lost this one, not because of this particular question, but one of the questions was, how many sizes does a nonagon have? And bear in mind, I said the year groups were 7 to 11. You can imagine that, particularly for like the older students, who are the ones who were able to answer all these questions, even if they're things that have been covered recently by the other year groups, because that was the whole point, right? Everyone could say something. We never covered nonagons, by the way, at any point. Unless that was in year 7, because I arrived to the school in year 8. So I don't know anything about the year 7 curriculum beyond the one music lesson that I attended because my schedule was mixed up and I didn't realize the split had even happened on my first day. That's a story for another time. But yeah, like, so I at this point was in year 8. It was still my first year there. So as one of the younger students, you know, I was, as we call it, poo-pooed by the older students quite frequently during the first competition, importantly, because after this particular question, they trusted me a lot more. It was the year 9 who kept on saying, like, no, that's not right answer, no, it isn't, you know, because I said to them that the correct answer was 9, because, you know, nonagon, you know, like from the Latin for 9, pretty sure. So, yeah, of course. Also, just in general, you know, obviously being bilingual by that point anyway, you know, ocho, nueve, 9, non, you know, there's a familiarity there. In fact, I think I had actually covered, the reason I knew what a heptagon was in the first place was because I had covered that in maths class anyway in my primary school before that in Spain. So, you know, my other curriculum, I was actually able to use that at that point. So, yeah, that's what I did. And, but then of course, you know, the year 9 guy were like, no, it isn't. And they wrote down the answer, I kid you not, of 0. That's right. They believed that there was a name for a shape with 0 sides. They believed that thin air, the vacuum, the void itself, was called a nonagon because of the word none, I have to imagine, was their logic. After the other team gave the correct answer that I had insisted upon, they trusted me from that point onwards. And our team eventually won. Not thanks to me, but like thanks to everyone. You know, there was a bit more of an air of like, okay, there's a reason that we're all here. Let's just get on. That was the lesson there, and it worked. So yeah, apparently, as long as there's someone out there with a phone to correct the hosts, trust me in terms of things regarding shapes. I might have jinxed myself just now, but, you know, we'll see. I did also, you know, write a book twice called Dodecahedron, so, you know, that's something. So what else was I going to say about this? Forgot. Oh yeah, that's something that I know. There's like one time that Dave Gorman took part in a quiz, which was, you know, and the question was like, what's the name of the longest town in the world? There's one in Wales that everyone thinks is the longest, but he knew there was one, I don't remember where exactly, that was even longer, and he gave the correct answer. But then when he was told, like, oh no, pull up my phone to look at it, it's, you know, you can't, no phones are allowed. It's like, well, you're the host, you can look it up on your phone. It's just a fun fact. Oh, so fun means not true. And he made a whole thing about that in one of his TV specials. So the fact that, you know, by this point everyone had their phones on because we were giving out the answers, so there was no reason to worry about that. I wonder if Dave Gorman's quiz was doing the answers progressively as they went on, rather than what we do, which is swap papers and then give each other scores. And then they check them all anyway. Which, now I think about it, if they check them all anyway and you have to tally up the scores anyway, which takes them quite some time, you've got to imagine that they're probably more thorough, and they're probably looking for any biases anyway. Well, who knows, maybe there's like overall the times that I've been cruel in terms of people almost getting the answer, but not quite. I don't know. That didn't happen this time, by the way. So yeah, that was another thing. And what was I going to say? So I see. You know what? Yeah, I'll go back. I'll go to the final scores now, because I'm running out of time, but also, you know, by the ending anyway. Obviously, a bunch of other things happened, but I don't remember all the specifics now, and they're not super significant without humiliating one particular, you know, member at a time of the groups, for reasons that become apparent right now. So the final scores came in, and like I said, one of the new teams came fourth, and oh no, sorry, it wasn't fourth. It was a joint fifth and joint third position this time. Oh no, it said joint fifth, but they were in joint fourth, because that's how it works. So yeah, they came in joint fourth with another group. Then there was a couple of teams that came joint third, which were a couple of the heavy hitters. And then the difference between the winning two groups this time was 3 whole points. And the winning team this time ended up being that group I mentioned before that had defeated the Wayne winners once before. It became them. So yeah, we came second. So unfortunately, we did not defend our title this time, alas. And then afterwards, you know, my dad was made remarks because we were saying like, oh yeah, what are things here? Because like again, my aunt had shut down a couple of answers before that people knew, other ones that, you know, people you know, should have known, like my Christina Perry one, for example. You know, just going around in order, being like, oh yes, what was that? This thing? You said that thing. You said that thing. You would have said this thing. You know, whatever. We could have wiped the floor with them. And as much as he's, you know, joking, mathematically, he's quite sound. You know, we really were our own worst enemies in this quiz. Rather than simply not knowing the answers, you know, by chance this time, it was a combination of, you know, our main weakness, that of poo-pooing each other, versus also, you know, just not trusting some of our gut instincts, like the word Christina. So yeah, unfortunately, would not defend our title very well, but hey, you know, we've come in second place a number of times before, I think, but you know, it's always nice to see that, you know, we didn't descend through the ranks significantly. You know, we're still up there, we're still among the heavy hitters, and we're still going to come back next month stronger than ever. You know, maybe this will be a bit of a character arc for us or something. You know, lessons learned, lessons to be taken, because who knows, next time not only will our cousin be there, well, my cousin be there next time. We'll still be down a member, but it'll be a different dynamic that night as well. But we'll also most likely be dealing with the usual winners and the other team victor and the new competitive people. You see why this is so fun now? You know, despite the fact that, you know, it's all, you know, neighborhood, good fun, yada yada. The fact is, as they say, as the owner of the establishment keeps saying, people keep showing up to this thing. You know, it's that like every single month, the tables and places are all completely full. And the reason we had to form our own team at first was because, even though we were invited by a family friend, that family friend already had her own team, but there's so many of us wanted to do it that there'll be too many of us in the group. There's no official group limit, by the way, and that was before we had the you know, rule of -1 point if you're above 6 members, +1 point if you're, you know, just below, or, you know, based on like how many you're missing or whatever, to equal things out. So before all that, but yeah, we had to form our own team because there were so many of us that wanted to do it. So yeah, pub quizzes are a very underrated thing. That's why I think there should be a movie about them. Because yeah, there's something about them that people take, you know, very seriously, but also have a great time with. And I think there's a beautiful simplicity to that you know, I will be glad to continue to partake in for as long as I remain in this particular country. So with that, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. Wish us luck for next time, and on that note, until next time, farewell.